Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this underbust corset with African print. And this is a picture of mine that I made. You could rock this with a dress or a top. So let's get started. Now I would advise you to watch the previous tutorial I made on how to draft a basic bodice. This is very important because we'll be using this basic bodice pattern to, come out with the underbust corset pattern. So here is my basic bodice pattern with my bust dart, and the length is my half length. I mean the total length, okay, is my half length. Now we're going to be marking where the underbust corset will be starting from. So make sure it should be at least an inch above the bust point, okay? The underbust corset, okay? So I will be marking at least half an inch from the center front, okay? If you're to be making a regular corset, you need to also mark that, on the underbust line. But for now, it's not necessary, okay? Then if you want the space in between your bust to be a bit wide, I mean the underbust corset, you could increase it to 0.75. Okay, so I'll be using, this is my curve that I'll be using to draw out the corset, a cup of the corset, but like I said, you could always increase this to 0.75 instead of 0.5. That is if you're quite busty, okay? So with my curve, I'm going to link this to my underbust line. Okay, so that's the function of the curve. Then I would also link the other side of the underbust to my side towards the chest line, okay? Or if you like, you could just come down probably half an inch after the chest line, okay? But make sure the front and back sides align. Yeah. So I'll just link this to the underbust line with my curve from the chest line. Okay, so like I said, you can always come down. It depends on what you want. Just get the basic technique of making the underbust corsets. Okay, so here I'm done with the front pattern. Now let's go to the back. The back is super easy. So since you're using the chest line, to terminate the underbust corset on the front pattern, you have to do the same thing at the back. Then for the center back, you can also use the same depth you use at the center front, okay? Now I'll use my ruler to connect from the side to the center back. You can see that it's slanted, but the sides must be equal. So I'm cutting out the bust and the waist darts, okay? Now I have separated my front and back patterns. I'm just trimming out the excesses I have on my front pattern. Then as usual, I'll be folding my bust darts like so. If you've watched the basic body tutorial, this shouldn't be something strange to you. So that is why I said try and watch the basic bodice tutorial. You understand perfectly. So I'm just throwing or blending up. Then I'll just continue to trim out the excesses I have on my pattern paper. So here. Meanwhile, the only thing we need is from the chest line. So I'm just trimming off everything above the chest line. Okay. Now I will cut off my bust darts. Then with my masking tape, I will be closing it, okay? But before I do that, let me also trim off the waist darts. Meanwhile, we only need the center front panel, like this. And then we're stopping where we marked, okay? Like so. And then on this other side, I'll also be trimming off towards the bust points so that I can close my bust darts like that with my masking tape, like I said. Now you will notice that the curve, is not properly aligned. towards the side seam. That's because of the balls that we closed. So I'll just use my curve to true or blend up that part. Okay, so after blending, I'll just cut off the side, which is what we actually need while drafting an underbust corset, not on the full corset. Okay, so here, good. Now we'll quickly move to the back, which is way simple. So I'll just cut along the line with drill towards the chest line. Then I have not added zipper allowance to this. Now let me just say this: the zipper allowance on the underbust corset is optional. Yeah, if you want to really snatch your waist, you might not bother to put zipper allowance. Yes, you heard me right. But if you want just a normal regular underbust, okay, I will just be adding 1 inch, normal 1 inch zip allowance to that. But you know, a waist clencher or waist snatcher, you know, it reduces your waist circumference because you know it snatches it. So it depends on you. Now I've drawn my arrows to show the direction of my pattern, so that when I'm placing it on my fabric, I will not misplace them. So I'll just trim off the darts, and I'm labeling B1, B2. This is my side seam, because after the construction, it might be very difficult for you to know what is what. So it's better you label them, you know, before cutting out. Okay, so these are my 2 back pieces, and of course the 2 front pieces we already cut out initially. I'll be going ahead to transfer this to my fabric and my lining. So here we go. When transferring to your fabric and lining, make sure you add your seam allowances round, ½ inch round, except the side seams, the center front, and of course the zipper allowance that we already added, okay, to the pattern. So go straight to the sewing. So simple. Now this is my fabric. I've laid out all the pieces, center front, the 2 side front, and of course the back pieces. This is the other back piece. I'll be adding that to that later. Okay, so I've sewn all the front pieces together. You give it a very good press. This is my lining. Okay, then your underbust needs some form of stability or structure, and your boning is going to do that for you. There are several ways of attaching boning to your corset. You could create a bone casing on the right side of the fabric using bias tape. Yeah, so you could create a casing with the bias tape on the wrong side of the fabric and insert the boning, or you could insert the boning on the lining of the underbust, the fabric you want to use actually. Yeah, there are different ways, so but we'll just be sticking to the one I'll be using in this tutorial. You'll be creating bone casing like I've done like this, so I left the last one for explanation. So what you do is you attach the bias tape on the right side of the fabric like this, on one of the folds on the bias. Then you cut out your boning like this. You use your masking tape to, you know, secure the edges. Then you place it like so. Meanwhile, the boning shouldn't get to the seam allowance on both sides. Then you place the boning into the bias like so, fold, and then sew on, you know, very close to the edge. Meanwhile, the boning is sewable, so you could actually sew on the bone. It's fine. Okay, then you just sew like that. So this is what you're going to be having. Next thing is to attach the lining to the fabric. Okay, so you just place the lining on top like so. Then you sew with ½ inch seam allowance from the side into the cups, up or downwards like that. Okay, so after turning, you must have done that. Next thing is to turn the hemline of the underbust corset. So I'll be reducing my lining by ½ inch, so that after sewing, my lining will not be, you know, slipping out. So I'll just reduce this by ½ inch like so. Okay, and then I'll go ahead to my sewing machine and stitch it round, and then give it a very good press, and you flip over to the right side. Okay, so this is my corset almost ready. Now take a look at the 2 cups, this and this. you can see that this doesn't have a boning, doesn't have a structure compared to this other one. So here I've attached my boning to give it structure. So what you do is you cut out the boning and then you place it around the cup like this. You measure it, make sure you don't have an excess. After measuring it round, then you are going to put it in like so inside, and then fix it around the underbust curve like this. Is very easy. Okay, you fix it around, pull it up as if you're fixing an underbrow wire. You could actually use an underbrow wire to do this. So then you now start stitching it down. You're not stitching on the boning, you're stitching after the boning. So it's more like you're creating a casing for the boning. Okay, so you'll be stitching very close to the boning, not on the boning. So at the end, you'll be creating like a casing. Okay, so let me take it to my machine and do that. Okay, I'm done here. So the function of the bone is to give it structure around the underbust, and the next is to fix your zipper. Okay, now I've fixed my zip, and that's the end of the tutorial. So let me just wear it for us to see. It's really easy to make, it doesn't take time. Okay, so please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. Bye.